All right, so you're jumping off from the last video, using the information we've learned about the some of the keywords that we want to think about is what. Remember, what is our variable? I'll call that x. The word is equal, and of is multiplication. Let's write mult. Okay, so now we're looking at two application problems here where it's not necessarily in that exact form we're looking for, but we have to read it and be able to interpret this into a similar form to what we saw in the last video. Okay, so we have Lena Hoover is a financial analyst. In December, she received $600 bonus. Okay, so she received a $600 bonus, which equaled 15% of her monthly salary. Okay, so if we were, so the question is asking what was her monthly salary. So the what is the monthly salary. So in this case, x is equal to monthly salary. So that's what we're solving for. And let's just read this middle sentence here. In December, she received a $600 bonus, which is, which equaled, so that's our equal sign. So the $600 bonus is 15% of the monthly salary. So if you just read this middle sentence, you'll actually get the form that we had in the previous video, where you have numbers, is, and ofs, and percentages, of, and then of what, I guess, if you want to put it in the form that we had before, the unknown, what. 600 is 15% of what. Now, that's just translating it in the same form as we saw in the previous video. Hopefully you can see that. She received a 600 bonus, which equaled, actually we can jump directly to equal. So what it's saying is 600 equaled 15%, let's convert that to a decimal form, 0.15, of is multiplication, her monthly salary, and we'll call that x. So hopefully you can see how we just translated this using the process we used in the last video, using keywords that's just hidden in the problem. So let's go ahead and proceed and solve for the monthly salary, x. So monthly salary, x, is, well, we would have to divide by 0.15. So we would get x equals 0.1, or sorry, we're dividing by 0.15, so it's 600 divide 0.15. So that would be 600 divide 0.15 is 4,000. We have our units of dollars, $4,000. So if we have a $600 bonus, which is 15% of our monthly salary, we determined that our monthly salary must be $4,000. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Using what we've learned in the previous video, keeping in mind this little key to help us determine what part of our equation we have, we were able to build off that, the information from the previous video and solve this equation, and solve for the monthly salary in this case. Now example R. Last year, Empire Bakery, let's change colors here. Last year, Empire Bakery had total expenses of $300,000. Okay, so the total is $300,000. Of the total, $210,000 was the expense for the employee salaries. So last year at Empire, the employee salary expense was what percent of total expenses? Okay, so notice that that we have some given information at the beginning of the problem. Total expenses is equal to $300,000. 300,000. And then 210,000 is equal to the employee salaries. I'll put employee dollars to abbreviate it. Okay. Last year at Empire, the employee salary expense was what percent of the total expenses? So this last sentence we can actually use what we used from the previous video to convert into an algebraic equation. Okay, so the employee salary. Notice that the employee dollars is employee salary. We can actually plug that in right now. The employee salary, so that's $210,000. Go in order. The employee salary expense was what percent of total expenses? So it's not actually mentioned here, but you can actually insert the word is in here. So you could read this as the employee salary expense is what percent. So if we inserted the word is right there, sometimes the word isn't actually, some of the keywords may not actually be in there, but you can easily insert the word in there, and it would logically make sense. So what we're saying is the employee salary is what percent. So because was is like past tense, so you can just cross out was. The employee salary is what percent of the total expenses. So I guess if you're talking about past tense, we could possibly have what, or was, sorry. Okay, so 210,000 is what, so that's the unknown, percent. So percent, remember from the previous video, percent we can multiply by 0.01. Because that's how you convert into decimal form, and we want it in decimal form. What percent of total expenses? So total expenses, we already know is total expenses is 300,000. And we have the of right here, of, which is multiply, total expenses, which is 300,000. We know that that's 300,000. So we build this equation. So sometimes you might have to write down the given information in the problem. Total expenses 300,000, employee 210,000, and then wherever it appears in the statement that we're converting into an equation, you have to substitute those values in. So we have 210,000 equals x times 0.01 times 300,000, and we can simplify this or just solve for x at this point. So we'd have 210,000 equals x times so 0.01 times 300,000 is 3,000. So times 3,000. And we can now divide by 3,000 on each side and get x equals, and 210,000 divide 3,000 is 70. So so what we've determined, just think about what this means. Last year, the employee salary expense was, or is, 70. You can insert 70 wherever you see the what, as we did in the previous video. 70%. So we've just determined the percent. 70% of total expenses. So what we've determined is 70% of 300,000 is 210,000. That's essentially what we've determined. All right, so hopefully this makes sense how you apply this to word problems. It's a little challenging, but the structure is there. And so, yeah, let me know if you have any concerns.